Okay, I am now on page 118 and 119, and we're going to talk about the parts of an atom. Okay? All right, first of all, you'll notice that I've already kind of marked up the page and I've circled protons and neutrons. Protons and neutrons are what make up the nucleus. Almost all of an atom's mass is in the nucleus because protons and neutrons have a mass of about 1 AMU, and you're going to find out that electrons are very, very small compared to that. Okay? All right. So let's talk briefly about protons. Protons are the positively charged particles of the atoms. Their relative charge is about +1. Charge, okay, is a +1. You'll learn that electrons have a charge of -1, that neutrons have no charge at all. Okay? The mass of a proton is extremely small. This number right here, teeny weeny, okay? That number sort of is hard for our brain to get around, so what scientists did is they made a different unit of mass just for subatomic particles, okay? So the mass of a proton is about 1 atomic mass unit, or they can just say 1U, okay? 1 atomic mass unit. Because giving the mass of a proton in grams is not very helpful. Okay, so we're just going to talk about protons' mass being 1 AMU. Okay, also in the nucleus are neutrons, and they have no electric charge. They are neutral. Okay, they're a little bit more massive than a proton technically, but basically they have about the same mass as a proton, about 1 AMU. Okay. Together, protons and neutrons form the nucleus of the atom. The nucleus is located at the center of the atom. For instance, here is a model of a beryllium atom, or the nucleus of a beryllium atom. Okay, you can see that it's made up of 4 protons and 5 neutrons. Because each proton has a +1 charge, the overall charge of the nucleus is +4. Because remember that neutrons have no electric charge. Okay. Now remember, we haven't considered the negative charges of the electrons hanging out in the electron cloud. We'll do that in a minute. Okay? All right, the volume of the nucleus is very, very small compared to the rest of the atom. But but protons and neutrons are the most massive particles in an atom. Okay? So down here it says the nucleus is only a very small part of an atom's volume, but it has almost all the mass of the atom. Okay? So most of the mass of the atom is found in the nucleus. Most of the volume of the atom is in the electron cloud. Let's talk about the electron cloud. Okay, the electron cloud. The negatively charged particles of the atom are called electrons, and electrons move around the nucleus very quickly. Scientists have found that it's not possible to determine both their exact position and their speed at the same time. So that's why we sort of picture it as a cloud around the nucleus. We know where they're likely to be, but we can't say exactly where they're going to be. Compared with protons and neutrons, electrons have very little mass. It takes more than 1,800 electrons to equal the mass of just 1 proton. Okay, now even though an electron's mass is very, very, very small, the charge of an electron is about the same as the charge of a proton. It's just their charges are opposite. So a proton has a +1 charge and an electron has a -1 charge. Okay? So the charges of protons and electrons are opposite but equal. The number of protons in a neutral atom has to equal the number of electrons. So if the atom overall has no charge, then you're going to have the same number of electrons as you have protons. Okay? So the atom has a net or overall charge. For example, the beryllium atom that we were looking at has 4 positively charged protons in the nucleus. So it's going to have 4 negatively charged electrons roaming around in the electron cloud, because 4 protons plus 4 electrons has to equal 0. 4 positives and 4 negatives equal 0. Okay? Now, an atom can gain or lose electrons. When this happens, we refer to the atom as an ion, and ions have a net charge that's not 0. If it loses negative charges, then it now has more protons and it's a positive ion. It's called a cation. If it gains electrons, then it's gaining negative charges and it becomes a negatively charged ion because it has more negative charges now than positive charges. And I know that's sort of confusing because you think when you gain it's plus and whatever, but remember you're gaining electrons, which are negative charges. So when you gain negatives, you become a negative ion. Okay. Another really important thing for you guys to understand is that for atoms in chemistry are not going to gain or lose protons and neutrons. The only things that an atom will gain or lose in chemical reactions are electrons. Okay? Everything in the nucleus stays the same. Okay? So summarizing down here, a proton is located in the nucleus. It has a charge of +1, and it has a mass of basically 1 AMU. Remember that special mass unit we made up just for subatomic particles. A neutron is found in the nucleus, has no charge, and a mass of about 1 AMU. The electron is located in the electron cloud, has a charge of -1, and has almost no mass. Don't say no mass because it does have some, but it has very, very little mass compared to either a proton or a neutron. Okay? It takes more than 1,800 electrons to equal the mass of a proton. Okay? And just to make sure that you guys understand, the main two parts of an atom, the nucleus and the electron cloud. Remember, the nucleus contains your protons and neutrons. Your electron cloud contains the electrons.